Well, it might have taken until the end of July, but do we finally have a song of the season? Summer Jam queen Carly Rae Jepsen is back with a new album. Has she delivered? Plus, Doja Cat is fighting with fans. Could this derail her career? Today, our Friday Rap panel helps make sense of the week in pop culture. I'm Amil Niazi, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Okay, it's Friday, it is the height of summer, and Carly Rae Jepsen has just blessed us with a new album. That's a bit of Shy Boy from The Loveliest Time, the latest album from BC's own Carly Rae Jepsen. And ever since Call Me Maybe became 2012 Song of the Summer, and let's be real, it is an all-time summer jam, Carly has become one of Canada's biggest pop exports. Culture critic Sarah-Tai Black, Peter Knegt, and comedian Ashley Ray are here with their thoughts on the new Carly album. We've also got something to say about the new Netflix comedy series Survival of The Thickest. And why does Doja Cat seem hell-bent on trolling her entire online fan base? Sarah-Tai, Peter, Ashley, welcome to the group chat.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so Peter, I'm going to start with you on this. What is one word to describe the reaction you had when you first listened to this new Carly Rae album last night?
One word. I mean, I feel like it's the same word that is my reaction to anything that she does, which is joyful. I felt very joyful listening to it. I feel like it's a very joyful album.
Sarah-Tai, what was your initial reaction?
I liked it. I'm not like the hugest Carly Rae fan. We're always spinning the hits in this household, but I've never listened to like a full album through and through. And listening to this, I was like, this is nice. This is cute. We got a little bop. I love a little bop girl, you know, like so cute for the lovers. I love like the 70s, 80s funk R&B disco inclusion. It's not like a Kylie Minogue fever level, but it's definitely danceable. And I was really pleasantly surprised by it.
Yes, very danceable. Ashley Ray, what were your thoughts?
Sam, I'm not a huge Carly fan. I do play the hits, but this album, it pulled me in immediately. It really feels like a vibe and kind of like Renaissance. It's giving me a moment that I want to recreate. I want to spend it like a late night in August in the summer, just like rollerblading and roller skating like all over town. It's just a really fun, disco, sexy, hot album.
Yes, you're speaking my language. Absolutely. Peter, we talked about Call Me Maybe being the song of the summer, still on repeat, you know, in homes everywhere. Is there a song on this new album that can potentially reach those levels?
Well, first of all, I'm a huge Carly Rae fan, so I'm so excited to hear that you both seem to be converted by this experience.
Yeah, she got me.
I will say that, you know, nothing's ever going to top Call Me Maybe. She's certainly tried. I feel like if Run Away With Me or Cut to the Feeling didn't do it, nothing on this album's going to. I don't think this album's really even trying. It doesn't feel like a singles album. But I mean, upon literally just one listen at midnight last night, Kamikaze and So Right both really stood out to me as sort of the most singly of them. So they have my votes for Song of the Summer potential. I don't necessarily feel like the general public will embrace them the way they did Call Me Maybe, but they'll probably never embrace anything like that again.
Well, let's hear a little bit of So Right.
I was wrong, I'm certain to it. Did I lose your love when it's physical? Sometimes we get it so right. We can get it so right.
I'm dancing in the studio. That's So Right off Carly Rae Jepsen's new album, The Loveliest Time. How does this hold up against past releases? You talked a bit about it, Peter, but what's sort of where in this discology is this new album?
Well, I mean, this is what she's calling a companion album. She's released now 3 sort of side Bs, as she used to call them. But they're really full albums that are companions to the previous album, the last one being The Loneliest Time, which came out in October. And what I love about the companion albums is they're sort of lower stakes and they're more experimental. And I don't think she's so concerned with sort of the single potential, quote unquote. And I think this holds up, you know, exceptionally well with the other companion albums or just any album in general. I thought on first listen, I also feel like Carly is sort of a grower sometimes in her music. But I really loved it on first listen, and I think it holds up wonderfully, and I expect nothing less from her at this point.
Well, we've only had a chance to hear it once, so I imagine after a few more spins, this is going to be a Carly Rae summer. Let's switch gears to this.
I want to dress women and help them love their bodies.
Hashtag body positivity. Hashtag what, mama?
Made this.
You the best at this.
You better start that rumor. Okay.
That's a clip from Survival of the Thickest, a new series on Netflix that centers on Mavis, played by comedian Michelle Buteau. It's also inspired by her best-selling essay collection of the same name. Peter, can you just give us a sense of what the show is about?
Yeah, so basically, Michelle Buteau plays Mavis, a stylist in her 30s, I think, who goes through this sort of really horrible breakup and uses it as an opportunity to sort of reinvent her life and herself, especially sort of as a stylist, taking on clients and making them feel better about their bodies. That's kind of the essential vibe.
She's 37 in the show, although in real life, Michelle Buteau is 46. And I was really wanting this to be a show about women in their, late 30s, early 40s, because we just don't see that enough. But that's my own bone to pick. Sarah-Tai, it's also a series that really leans into this idea of body positivity, body diversity. Michelle Buteau herself called it a love letter to, quote, oddie bodies and the fatty baddies. What did you think of those body positive themes in the show?
I mean, I've been waiting for like the Black woman and or Black femme, fat person centered show. I love that unlike a show like Shrill, which I kind of have like a love-hate relationship with for many reasons, we don't have like that initial like spending half a season trying to get her to get over some kind of like self-hatred because like she's grown like that phase should have been passed. And I love the idea of a show that just focuses on a fat woman living her life out loud, fat pleasure, fat comedy. The first episode does have a few like self-deprecating jokes that like, as a noted fat person myself, I'm like, we don't need this. We don't need this, Michelle. Do you? What I really was not expecting was the kind of queer orbit around her character. And like, as a queer person, it's so nice to like not have to striate my identities watching a show and like have to forget that queer people exist or like only that one cis gay man exists. So it was nice to see her like really enmeshed in that community. And I also like the way it's kind of dealing with sexuality and like that might not be body positivity, but it is body autonomy. And as the season goes on, it gets really interesting in that sense for me.
Yeah, I mean, I binged it all in one day, so I overall really found it very enjoyable. Ashley, you're a comedian. How did this mix of comedy and body positivity land for you?
I thought it was great. Michelle has been doing this in her comedy for a long time. I'm a huge fan of her stand-up. And this is an excellent representation of what she does, just how charming, bubbly she is. You truly feel when you watch this, you want to spend time with her, smoke with her, like have a drink with her. It's just that engaging of a show. And on top of it, it's so sexy.
It is very sexy.
It's so sexy. Like, I'm fat, I'm plus size, and watching this, I was just like, yes, this is the representation we deserve for our love lives. The show, she has men falling all over her, gorgeous men, and she deserves it. And again, she's so secure in that. She's so confident in it because she knows herself. And so I think that's the exact tone that Michelle takes in her comedy. It translated perfectly. Sometimes that can be scary as a comic. You don't know if the studio is going to give you too many notes. They're going to change your whole life. We saw it all happen with Che Diaz. So,
yeah, you're talking about, and just like
and
that.
Just a little Sex in the City humor for the fans. But, they come in and they want to put you in a box. And especially with someone like Michelle, when she has so many intersections in her personality, it probably would have been easy for them to say, let's just go the stereotypical sitcom route and have you fall in love with your friend. Let's have you do this and feel insecure about a dress that doesn't fit. But it never does that. It always does something unexpected.
I love it. Peter, what were your feelings on the series?
I mean, I love Michelle Buteau. I've loved her in all these sort of tiny parts she's had in all these things. So it's so wonderful to see her centered and getting this opportunity. I think the show is incredibly watchable. I did feel a little bad for her that this show sort of came out the same week as the strike and she's not getting to promote it. And I really hope that people sort of find it and embrace it despite sort of everything that's going on, because it really deserves, not just people's attention, but another season. Yeah,
I would love to see another season because I think there's a lot that the show can do. One thing that, intrigued me was how a show like this is landing in a time when, yes, artists like Lizzo have helped put the body positivity movement back into the cultural conversation, but we're also bombarded with pieces about Ozempic, the semaglutide that people say are going to lead to a post-fat world. And every celebrity from Mindy Kaling to a host of reality stars are rumored to be on it, kind of seeming to do away with this conversation around body diversity. Sarah-Tai, do you think it hit the mark given the cultural context that we're in right now?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a show I'm really rooting for. It did have some shortcomings for me, and I felt like it fell a bit short of that mark. But it's because the mark is so beyond, like, as a fat person, as a fat film critic, going to Scotiabank Theater and seeing, like, the multi-level Ozempic ad on the stairs. Like, we're just bombarded from every direction with, like, fat phobia and just, like, this refusal to let people live their lives with full autonomy and respect and care. That it's like, how can anything meet that standard of critique? I think my biggest critique of the show would probably be that it seems a little bit confused in terms of its tone. I love that we have like this kind of cringy elder millennial humor, which I say is a cringy elder millennial myself.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I want to make sure everyone knows I'm not just a Gen Z talking out the side of my neck. But then there's also like these really like nostalgic feeling. Like it feels very influenced by like Girlfriends, like those UPN Black-centered sitcoms, which I love, but there's also moments where the sincerity doesn't really hit the mark in terms of authenticity. I think as people watch the show as it goes on, there's a moment with like a Karen, which is played very strangely, and I don't know any Black person who would have the kind of sit down after where you all talk about the first time you were called the N-word. Like, not me, couldn't be me. But I am excited to see where it goes, and I'm excited. I hope that it gets another season because I think that it's needed.
Yeah, I really wondered about that moment where they have a confrontation with a Karen who threatens to call the police. And it felt a little after school special. Ashley Ray, is there anything, that you felt the series could have done that it didn't do?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree on those points. There are, still those moments when we have to remember most of these networks and streamers are run by white men who assume most of the audience is also white. And they think that audiences need to have this like spoon fed to them. So you do find these scenes in a lot of diverse shows that are like particularly led by women of color. I think there are also moments in, say, an Abbott Elementary where you're kind of like, okay, that was okay, we get it. Like, the more you know, thanks for telling us, you educated us today. And it's like this burden that I think is placed on Black creators that other creators don't have, where you're not expected. You can't just show the interaction with the Karen. You also have to show him in tears and showcasing what it means for her, his girlfriend and her child. It always has this burden of, we are supposed to teach the world and show everyone through our work. We can't just be funny. So I do think the show took on that burden in some ways that don't help the tone. It is sometimes I just want to be like, just be funny. I just want to see her, cooking pesto with Rice Krispies. Like, let's just focus on the jokes. I don't need this moment. But again, I do think we're just still in this cultural time when if shows by people of color don't do that, they're sometimes reprimanded for not showcasing something more political or something, that is more serious or the important topics. So, I hope in the future Black creators can let that go. I think when we get more seasons, when people actually allow us to develop our voices, you see that start to fade away. And it's like, we don't need to worry about like educating a white audience. We can focus on just representing our experience.
Perfectly put, Ashley. Okay, on to something a little controversial surrounding this next artist.
Can you kiss me more? We're so young, boy, we ain't got nothing to lose. Oh, it's just principle. Baby, hold me, 'cause I like the way you move.
Forever danceable, Doja Cat's 2020 bop Kiss Me More, featuring SZA off Doja's album Planet Her. So Doja has been making headlines for what some are calling abusive behavior towards her online fans. Peter, can you make sense of this story? I'm still struggling to make sense of what she's doing, but for those who don't know, what's happening here?
I'm struggling a little bit too, but so I understand that Doja Cat has had a consistently bizarre relationship with her fans like for a while now, but what's happening now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that on Threads, and I guess good for Threads. For
Finally, something for Threads.
Yeah, this is our first big Threads controversy.
The fans asked her to declare her love for them on Threads, and she basically just sort of said, "I don't know you," essentially, right? Or
I don't know you, get a life.
There is a bit more to it. This all started because Doja has a new boyfriend. Her fans don't like this new boyfriend. He's been accused of horrible things, loser. And so they were tweeting this at her, and she just started blocking fan pages that were telling her, "Hey, we don't like your boyfriend." And then she moved to Threads and started saying, if you call yourself a kitten, which is what her fans call themselves, you need to get a job, get off your phone. Obviously, they did not like that. And then they asked, "Hey, don't you love us? Say you love us." And she was like, "I can't say that because I don't know you." And then she started to block people more. And so then people shut down their stan pages in revolt. And yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant. I mean, it's so out of pocket, and it's so surprising in 2023 for an artist to attack her, not just her fandom, but her standum, the people that keep her name on Threads. Sarah-Tai, you've been keeping receipts on Doja Cat for a minute. Why are you not surprised by this?
I'm not surprised. I'm like ACAB, but also like as biracial people, we need to hold the receipts on each other to hold ourselves accountable, because people are going to forget as soon as you learn how to put a wig on properly, all of the wild things that you've been up to, all of the baninis things that you've been doing on the internet, you know, like Ashley talked about, she's been dating a Twitch streamer who's been accused of like sexually manipulating mods, like slipping into the DMs of like teenagers and tweetagers. Not to mention that she asked her fans to vote if they wanted to be called kittens or cubs.
It was her idea.
It was her idea. And like, let's never forget, she was in the alt-right incel tiny chats doing race play back in the day. Like, to quote Noriega, she's in the racial chats showing her feet. You know, and at first she didn't even apologize. She said, like, these people are my friends. We need to get over it. You know, people, you know, kind of forgot all about that. She had like the gross ironic benefit of like the murder of George Floyd and the uprisings of spring and summer 2020 that, like, in terms of PR, just kind of washed away her mishaps in terms of doing race play with white supremacists in tiny chat. I saw like a comment on TikTok, I think, that described her as Azalea Banks in 4chan font, which I really appreciated. I will also add that, like, she doesn't have the benefit of the power dynamics that Azalea Banks is facing, which is kind of why we're still rooting for her, even though she's like very problematic. You know, there's also, she's had a song called, I don't even know if I can say it. I don't even know if I can say the slur, but you would never know what the slur is unless you're a white supremacist on the depths of the internet. And she made a song about it. Like, I can't. You have to be so deep in white supremacist internet culture to even know what that slur means. And she's just a troll. She's a troll with no purpose. This isn't even the first time she's turned on her fans. If we've been keeping track of all the people I hate, she's high on the list. She's not as high as Sam Levinson or Lin-Manuel Miranda, but she's up there.
Wow, we're going to have to talk about, we're just going to table Lin-Manuel for a minute. But it feels like a very dangerous thing to do, to alienate your fan base. You know, two of her biggest sort of online fan accounts have turned their back on her and said, we're not going to promote her. We're no longer going to do that legwork. Can a pop star survive this kind of thing, Peter, in 2023?
I mean, I'm getting a wild education on Doja Cat tonight.
We all are.
This is why I exist. Someone has to hold the history, Peter.
I don't know. I mean, I suspect she probably can. I feel like people are surviving everything these days. I'm just sort of listening and sort of taking this in. I'm still sort of in awe of the Doja Cat context. So maybe I'm not the best person to ask, but I from what I know, I suspect, I guess. I mean, she survived it, all of that this far, so.
What do you think, Ashley? Because I know that you know, for a lot of these pop stars, yes, there's a level you can get to where you don't necessarily need to have a bunch of kittens have your back, but you also do rely on them in lulls and to sort of, you know, get those big singles out and charting.
Yeah, I do think we'll see an impact. She lost something like 300,000 Instagram followers. I think we're going to see it impact ticket sales for her tour that's coming up. I think people are less excited. But at the same time, fans are fans. They're already coming up with excuses for her. She has a Skechers campaign where she is promoting a show called a shoe called The Duo that has dual personalities, and one is like nice and one is bad. And so her fans are saying that it's not Doja, it is her alter personality Scarlett who is being mean to the fans.
We haven't even touched on the demon Illuminati thing.
Oh, yeah. So her fans are already coming up with these reasons and excuses to go, no, this is just marketing. This is, the next phase. This is just an artistic thing. They'll always find those excuses if they want them.
I wonder if there are any, musicians, celebrities, pop stars that are looking at this and going, it kind of looks liberating to just tell your stand-up, like, I don't know you, actually. Is that, Sarah-Tai, do you think there's any part of it that's just sort of been like building up in this world of toxic stand-up?
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have the hate in my heart that I have for her, I would be offering a little grace and saying, like, yes, parasocial relationships, that's got to weigh you down. At the same time, all of her kind of attacks at her fans are like, get out of your mom's basement, when like she's deeply, her vibe before she was famous was like in her mom's basement on the internet. And I don't know, I think if she's like uncancelable within the rhetoric that cancel culture doesn't exist, obviously, it's because she's like navigates this world like a little 4chan troll. And that's kind of the only way it would work. Well,
I don't want to say excited to see what happens next, but I'm very intrigued by everything that I've just learned. Before we go, we have some recommendations from you all that I'm very excited to get to. This was a weird week, but a very exciting week for people who love aliens, who are into UFO chat. If you've been following this at all, we heard there were hearings in Washington this week where there was talk of potential cover-ups, possible non-human biological remains. I don't know what that means. A part of me doesn't want to know. But UFOs suddenly feel very real. So with that in mind, as we head into the weekend, very quickly, I want some alien movies from all of you. Peter, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I didn't really grow up watching alien movies, but I do think that lately there's been a lot of really interesting new takes on it. Like I'm thinking Asteroid City this summer, Nope last summer. But my favorite is Jonathan Glazer's Under the Skin from 2013, where alien in the body of Scarlett Johansson goes around Scotland basically preying on male hitchhikers. It is wild, it is beautiful, it is disturbing, it feels very today. So that would be my recommendation, Under the Skin 2013.
Brilliant. Sarah-Tai, how about you?
I love Under the Skin as like an accidental trans allegory for like knowing one's body. But my recommendation is John Sayles' 1984 Brother from Another Planet, starring Olivia Pope's father himself, Joe Morton. And he plays a mute alien in like the shape and embodiment of a Black man who is kind of like left to run through the streets of Harlem trying to escape these outer space bounty hunters.
That sounds amazing. And I have never seen that.
Just a fun little cult film.
And Ashley, how about you?
I'm going to mix it up here. I'm going to do a TV show because that's my whole thing, talking about TV. And I want to highlight People of Earth. It was a 2016 show starring Wyatt Cenac. And to me, it is the best version of what we can hope these aliens are. It's really funny. It's about a group of survivors, but then the aliens still come down sometimes and mess with them. Hijinks ensue. And I think you can watch it on Apple TV nowadays, but it's just so funny, so cute. And I hope they're cute, nice aliens like in that show.
Yes, let's please hope that they are cute and nice, that they're like E.T. and not like the thing.
No, murder me now.
End it.
You don't want E.T. to come down and talk to you about Reese's Pieces?
No, I'm tapped out. My dance card is full. Take me out of here.
Yeah, unless E.T. is coming down and is like, I'm covering your rent and your groceries. I have nothing to say to him. So.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you all for being here. I won't accept the ET slander, but Sarah-Tai Black is a freelance film critic. You can read their work on CBC Arts and the Globe and Mail. Ashley Rae is a comedian, actor, and writer based in Los Angeles. And Peter Knegt is a producer at CBC Arts and the host of Here and Queer on CBC Gem. And that's it for the show today. I'm Amil Niazi, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud.